Om Shri Dhanvantaraye Namaha. Namaskar to everybody. I'm happy to thank Sabnis Kaka and you all for being here to listen to the subject, that is fever and Ayurveda. So this is a very, even in India also, people don't think that Ayurveda can be useful for treating fever. Everybody thinks that Ayurveda is only for treating arthritis, treating jaundice, or treating for some chronic ailments, chronic diseases. Or people come to us only when they don't have any answer to their diseases. But the fever is the commonest of the symptom and commonest of the disease, which is very well discussed in Ayurvedic texts, just like modern medicine discusses in detail. And that was very surprising when I started teaching this subject, fever, in my college. It took me 6 months to cover that whole topic in detail. If I want to teach in detail, then I needed 6 months to teach this topic. So I'm Dr. Vijay Hatankar from Pune. I'm consulting Ayurvedic physician, and I am happy that I am able to treat even dengue with Ayurveda and typhoid with Ayurvedic medicines. And that's why I come up with this confidence that I should put this subject in front of everybody. So what is the aim of this session? Generally, most of the people, whenever they listen to such sessions, they think that they will get something which will be useful at home, which will be very handy, and some decoction or some guidance regarding some medicines. But overall, my aim of this session is not just to teach some medicines, or it's not the scope of this 45 minutes of lecture to cover whole of fever, or that is Jwar in Ayurveda. The aim of this subject, this session, is to understand importance of Ayurvedic perspective regarding fever. There is very unique Ayurvedic thinking while treating fever, which is good to everybody. So every fever patient should get Ayurvedic guidelines and as well as medicines. That's what I come to understood throughout my practice. The second aim of this is to understand why we should try to change the way we treat our fevers. It's really disheartening to see patients in my clinic having a history of fever, say for 25 years back, 25-year-old history of fever, and having diseases which are related to those fevers. So it's what's happening presently, that fevers are being treated symptomatically, temporarily, and that leads to continuation of those fever toxins in the body, leading to chronic disorders whose roots are in the fevers. In those fever, or many times people get many types of fevers. Somebody gets even typhoid plus malaria, also dengue. So the roots of their chronic diseases are always found to be in their fevers. So it is necessary to change the way we treat our fevers and to responsibly add Ayurvedic factor to treat fever, not only by doctors, but individually. The person himself or the relatives themselves can see that they add Ayurvedic factor at home or even in hospitals if the patient is suffering from fever. So this is the aim of this session, to give some guideline regarding importance of Ayurveda while treating fever. So what is fever is we all know. It's not that difficult. We all know what is fever is simply the rise in normal body temperature. 98.6 degree Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius is the normal body temperature. And whenever with the causative factors, there is some, after causative factors, there is some rise in normal body temperature, it's called as fever. No other symptom is necessary for that. Ayurveda calls it Sharira fever, Sharira jwar and Manasa jwar. So even the symptoms of fever go to mind also. So rise in normal body temperature is the measurement with which we can just follow these guidelines, follow these Ayurvedic factual guidelines in our treatment of fevers. So this symptom is the commonest of all the symptoms and diseases, as no one is spared from fever. Fever, some or the other time, everybody gets fever. That's the truth. I think nobody will be able to deny this truth. I don't think that anybody you come across and say that this person didn't had fever anytime in his life. So that's why treating fever so as to end the suffering is necessary. Of suffering throughout life is necessary. We take fevers very lightly. Actually speaking, fever is such a common thing. The thing which is very common is always taken very lightly. Just as we take air very lightly, water very lightly. Same way, we take fevers very lightly. The aim of this session is not to put some fear regarding fever, but to make aware regarding the fever. As we all are unaware of its complications. What are the complications? They are temporary sometimes, they are chronic, and sometimes, most of the times, if that fever is not properly treated naturally, the principles which Ayurveda explains, the patient gets incurable disease. The relation of these incurable diseases with their fever history is never done, and that is not the scope of modern medicine. They don't relate. They don't take the history, but though they take the history, but they don't relate the fever to the present disease. So we are all are unaware of these complications of fever and its long-term effects, which lead to debility, which lead to wear and tear. Even joints, why they get fragile? They get fragile because of the effects of fever, which we'll come to understand scientifically afterwards. Even aging is also related with fever. In Sanskrit, aging is known as jara, and the word for fever is jwara. So the aging is also related with fever. Fevers augment aging. They speed up our aging. So in all these, if after understanding these factors, these points, I think it is necessary to treat fevers. It is necessary to treat their toxins naturally, that with the way Ayurveda teaches us. The damage it causes to our life quality and life expectancy is too much. What I have seen in my practice. Every 8 patient of my 10 patients have fever history of say a chronic fever or maybe uh, a severe fever like jaundice or like dengue and typhoid, and they are suffering with arthritis at present. I relate those arthritises or all other their chronic diseases to those fevers. So overall, the damage it causes to our life expectancy is extreme. So it's just because today we treat our fever only symptomatically. If anything happens to us, we consult a doctor. He gives us some antipyretic medicine and added with some antibiotic if necessary. So this is the symptomatic treatment of fever. I am talking fever in general. Whoever has symptom of fever has to understand all these things. That fever can be mild, that fever can be moderate or severe, depending on the severity. fever troubles in our life. It augments all the factors, all the points what I just explained. So let's not just treat our fever symptomatically. Uh, I think you all must be aware that fever, the word fever and jwar are very similar. Just see the suffixes, vara, fever, and jwar. I think I understand that this word fever has come from jwar also, jwar itself. The Sanskrit word jwar has jwa in as a suffix, prefix. What that jwa means? Jwa means jolan. Sorry, jwa means prajwal. Jwa is there in prajwal. Jwa is there in ujwal. You must be aware of all these names. So what is jwalan is burning, prajwal is blazing, ujwal is bright. All these are related with agni. So agni is the derangement in agni is the reason why we get fever. Uh, as it's not an interactive section, but I will like to. Last time I have discussed about uh, Agni. Sorry, I'll take water just. So, concept of Agni I have explained in my last lecture that Jatragni, Dehagni, etc. So, this fever is also related with Agni. Ayurveda describes the types of fever, and we can say that is it is the classification of fever, just as modern medicine does. It gives all types of classifications and types. There are modern medicine shows endogenous, exogenous. I'm just showing this just to understand that Ayurveda explains every detail of fever in Ayurvedic text. So Ayurveda calls it Nija and Agantu Jwara. These are the types of fever, Nija Jwar and Agantu Jwar. So it's not scope of like say just to explain all the what is Nija and what is Agantu, but I can say that Nija is from the endogenous factors which get created in our body after the when we come across the causative factors. So these are the this is the classification. These are the types made by Ayurveda, that Nija Jwar, Agantu Jwar, Sharira Jwar, Manasa Jwar, Sankramak or Asankramak, that is infectious and non-infectious, common specific Jwar, that is Samanya and Vishesh, or acute and chronic Jwar, that is Nava Jwar and Jirna Jwar, mild jwar, fulminant or soumya or agneya jwar we call. Infective, non-infective, just we explain adhijayvik and doshaj. So these are the curable, incurable, sadhya, sadhya. Then again, regular, intermittent or sama and visham, and relapsing and punaravardhak. All details are given in Ayurvedic text just to understand that how detailed Ayurveda thinks about fever. Ayurveda even explains stages of fever as modern medicine does. Modern medicine says is effervescence. Ayurveda calls it samajvara. Persistent febrile, Ayurveda calls it Pachamana Jwar. Effervescence, Ayurveda calls it Nirama Jwar. Effects of, depending on the effects of fever on body constituents, Ayurveda gives a very specific or specialized classification, which is not available in modern medicine. Ayurveda calls Rasagata, Rasagata Jwar, Raktagata Jwar, Mausagata Jwar, Medogat, Asthigat, Majjagat, Shukragat. So these are, I just have shown this because to understand that a very detailed thinking has been given in Ayurvedic text for treating fever. And that's why the treatment which is done with Ayurvedic principles leads to a total justice to patient. Sort of demonic explanation of fever is given. What is Ayurvedic perspective in this whole uh, discussion of fever? According to Ayurveda, Ayurveda says fever is dehendriya manastapi. It affects body, it affects senses and also mind. So dehendriya manastapi means whenever we get fever, all these three our important constituents of our physical existence, they are challenged. Fever challenges body, challenges senses also, and mind also. I see that the body gets fragile, senses gets agitated, and mind gets corrupt because of fever in a different sense of it. Ayurveda calls it Sarva Rogagraj. That is, it is the leader of diseases. The leader means he is the most important one. He is the most important disease. Whenever somebody gets fever, if somebody is suffering from diabetes and he gets fever, so fever has to be addressed first. Then only the patient becomes normal. So diabetes remains on the side, but fever has to be given importance. So it is the leader of diseases. Ayurveda calls it as a precursor of diseases. Sarva Roga Agraj means it is the one which leads to other diseases. Fever is the ailment which is a precursor of all the suffering of humankind. Ayurveda calls it Rogarat. Rogarat means emperor of diseases. It's the king of diseases. Samrat, just as we call Samrat, that is Rogarat. Rogarat is a very perfect adverb given to Jwara, that is fever. Ayurveda calls it Bali. It is the most powerful amongst all diseases, as it can take your prana. So if not cured properly, maybe immediately or maybe later. So it is the Bali, most powerful amongst all diseases. It is the chief of all diseases. It guides all other toxins, how they will destroy this combination of body, senses, mind, and soul. How they will destroy the integrity of body, senses, and mind and soul. So it is the chief of all diseases who guides all the bad humors in our body to disintegrate body. And it is also a very specific explanation. Ayurveda calls it, it is Janmado Nidhanecha, means it is present from birth till death. Because of fever, we are martya. That means we can die. If a person doesn't get fever throughout his life, his longevity will be very good. So there is a story regarding how fever came on this planet. It is like Dakshapamana Sankrudda Rudra Nishwasa Sambhava. When the Daksha Prajapati didn't honor Lord Shiva, then because of the anger of Lord Shiva, the human beings started getting fevers. This is a short story. I'm just explaining in terms, but it is again applicable to our body also. The brain, which is or the our intellect, which is Daksha. Daksha means alert. Whenever it insults our natural body constituents, we get because of the growth of that we can call Rudra in our body. That is our part of hypothalamus. We get fever. So the question is why our body temperature is normal at 98.6 degree only, or plus minus 1 degree. Why we feel comfortable when we are at this temperature? Why we want to always try to maintain our temperature, body temperature to 98.6 degrees Celsius? And why do we feel being uneasy and disease when just above 98.6 degree Fahrenheit? 98.9 degree Fahrenheit, even we get symptoms even at 98.9 degree Fahrenheit, but those are not that much troublesome. But after 99.6 degrees Celsius, it is called as the person having fever. So Our whole existence is based on thermoregulation. Our body exists just because of our body manages our thermal environment inside the body. And the factors which are responsible for that are Jala, that is body fluids, Rakta, that is blood, Pitta, that is one of the humor, Agni, what I told you, is a fire, and Rudra, that is, I relate it with central nervous system's hypothalamic part. So all these factors, they regulate our thermal condition, and that's why at 98.6 degrees Celsius, our thermoregulation is proper, and we feel better. Whenever it disturbs, it exceeds, we get fever. Our human body and systems need constant thermoregulation. Our body always try to keep our thermal condition normal, as we have various systems in our body: the respiratory system, gastrointestinal system, central nervous system or nervous system. We have hepatobiliary system, that is liver, pancreas, etc. We have our bones or blood vessels and the bone marrow, which is very important in regulating body temperature also. So all these systems have human cells. These human cells are different types of cells. We have brain cells, blood cells, heart cells, muscle cells, lung cells, bone cells, etc. All these human cells, they have a structure. They have a wall. They have cytoplasm. That is it's like just like a home. They have the boundary, some structure inside. One kitchen is also there, that mitochondria, etc. So all these human cells, they get damaged when fever comes. When fever comes and remains treated incompletely, the toxins which are created, they directly do cellular damage. They create local chemical effects on the systems from which the fever has started. So the systems become disturbed or system become fragile, so as to lead up to a chronic disease. The effect of fever is directly on cellular. What will happen if we get 104 degree Fahrenheit cell temperature? If 106 degree at 106 degree Fahrenheit temperature, what happens to the cells? The cell fluidity increases. The cells become fluid. The structure of the cell, like a house, it has walls, boundary walls, strong walls. The lipids inside those cell walls, they become loose, and the cell leads to disintegration, and effectively the cell dies. So death of the cell is possible if fever is not controlled in time, or it is not cured naturally to eliminate toxins, fever toxins. Those fever toxins can keep on damaging cell walls and lead to troubles throughout the life. So what is modern pathophysiology of fever? Which explains that there is a thermoregulatory center in hypothalamus. And that thermoregulatory center, when somebody gets some infection or somebody does some causative factors, like which we'll discuss afterwards Ayurvedically, our some phagocytic cells activate, they create prostaglandins. Those prostaglandins, this is all chemical theory. I think you may not be interested in understanding it, but maybe the words, the modern scientific words, they put light on how modern thinking is there. So whenever we get infection, our blood cells gets activated, they start creating anti-inflammatory chemicals, prostaglandins, and that prostaglandin reports to hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of brain which is just near pituitary gland. So that that it gets activated, and it controls, it sets the knob little upper, and controls the our thermal condition, and it sets it a little up, so we get fever. That's what modern medicine thinks, that thermoregulatory center is in hypothalamus. But let's now see what Ayurveda thinks. What is the reason behind getting fever? This pathophysiology of modern science, I found it incomplete. This is my observation after seeing, even after studying and all the science and Ayurveda. Ayurveda gives a different perspective. What Ayurveda says, Ayurvedic pathophysiology of fever is, Ayurveda calls, there is a shlok, very famous shlok this in Ayurvedic students, that mithya ahar viharabhyam dosha hi amashaya shreya bahir nirasya kosthagnim jvaradasyu rasanuga. What it says, so mithya ahar, that is sudden excessive change in climate, food, daily routine, and daily habits. If somebody is accustomed to some routine, and if he changes that routine suddenly, it is a mithya ahar, mithya vihar. So in terms of food, it is ahar, and vihar is the routine. Ayurveda also explains that complications following panchakarma leads to fever. Disease progression, complications after disease progression leads to fever. Accidents leads to fever. Pregnancy and labor leads to fever if not done properly. Poisoning leads to fever. Grief, excessive labor work, etc. These are the factors explained in Ayurvedic text considering mithya ahar vihar. Mithya means wrong, and ahar is vihar comprises many things. What happens after that? Our humors get vitiated. We all know that Ayurveda, according to Ayurveda, there are three humors, namely Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. They get vitiated, and they reach stomach, that is digestive system. If after we do these causes, these etiological factors, we get etiological factors, our humors get vitiated and reach stomach and digestive system, and they throw out the flowing, secreting digestive fluids, which has Agni in them, embedded in them. Agni is what is the power to metabolize or to digest whatever we eat, which flows or secretes in our our stomach. It is called as koshtha. Koshtha is kotha. In Marathi, we call it kotha. So koshtha, Agni, the vitiated doshas, they throw out the flowing or secreting digestive fluids in stomach. You'll be surprised to understand that our stomach, that it secretes 1.5 liter of hydrochloric acid every day. So it's a big amount, one and a half bottle of our distillery water. So 1.5 liter of hydrochloric acid is secreted in our stomach every day. Along with that, our liver secretes 500 ml of bile, 250 to 500 ml of bile juice in our intestine. All these are very strong in nature. These are acids. They have pigments and acids. Besides that, our pancreas, they secrete pancreatic juice, which is also very strong, which is also very hot in nature. Our intestines secrete enzymes which digest the matter which comes in their part. So this hydrochloric acid, hepatic, that is liver, bile juice, pancreatic juice, and liver intestinal enzymes, they all has a power which is known, which we can understand as Agni. Ayurveda calls it Agni Pitta Antargataha, which means the Agni, that the fire which is necessary to digest food is in Pitta, that is the acid. Pitta means, we can simply say acid. So that Agni stops getting secreted in our whole gastrointestinal tract. That is the reason why we lose our and appetite in fever. The beginning symptom of fever is loss of appetite. So Ayurveda explains that the humors which are disturbed, which are vitiated, which are in rage, they throw out this, they stop the secretion of digestive fluid, that is Agni, and that Agni remains in our blood. From where those secretions come? Whatever hydrochloric acid, 1.5 liter of hydrochloric acid, which is secreted in our stomach, it is manufactured there by using hydrogen and chloride ions. So from where it comes? Everything comes from cells, but from cells get it from blood. So all these secretions, which 2.5 liter of secretions we secrete in our stomach, in our kotha, that is in our intestine and stomach, those secretions are very, very strong. They stop entering this tract and they remain in blood. And that's why the person gets fever. That is the explanation of what Ayurveda gives. Ayurveda doesn't think of hypothalamus or brain part in it. And that's why Ayurveda can treat these toxins which are remaining in your blood and give a true justice to patients. So this is a different theory behind fever. Why we get fever? Our body is hot, but our intestine doesn't get, or our stomach doesn't get the secretions which are necessary for normal functioning of our body. The whole our body is a harmonical expression of Agni, we can say. Agni is very important. Agni is the middle of all Panchamahabhutas. It is the third of fifth Panchamahabhutas. So Agni is very important. It is the reason why we can live. Ayurveda says that Shantegno Mriyate, means when the Agni becomes Shanta, that is calm, cool, it's disturbed, it leads to death. So Agni is everything. And this Agni is not given importance in today's treatments. Whatever treatment we are getting some antibiotics, we are thinking only locally. If there is some throat pain, that means there is some infection. Let's kill those germs and reduce the fever, and that's all. The work is over. That's not the case. We have to establish Agni back in our kotha, in our koshtha. That is the aim what Ayurveda does. That is the way, this is the way with which Ayurveda treats a person and eliminates the toxins. What happens when Agni remains in blood? That Agni, the secretions, when they remain in blood, there is some chemical reaction goes on, which damages blood cells, which damages other cells also, and lead to formation of toxins and cell debris. Cell debris is a big matter. What happens to prostaglandins, which are secreted after infection or after inflammation? It's not taken care of. So establishing Agni back in intestine is the prime importance while treating fever. And thus, whenever the vitiated doshas throw out our intestinal or our stomach Agni, that is Jatra Agni, it gives rise to fever. This is what it is explained, that Mithya Ahar Viharabhyam, Mithya Ahar Vihar leads to doshas. Dosha goes in stomach, Amashay, and then throw out Koshtha Agni and gives fever. But where it gives fever? In a Rasadhatu. That is Rasanuga. Rasanuga means this mixture of humors, dosh, and Agni with incompletely metabolized chemicals travel through rasa all over the body. And suddenly we get fever all over the body. It is called as Yugapat Abhivartan. Means suddenly at a time we get fever. Just like fire spreads in oil. Whenever we have put some petrol on the floor and the fire spreads quickly. The same way, more than that, quickly, this rasa gets all these chemicals and leads to fever. So this is the Ayurvedic perspective of pathology of fever. in all these aspects, this gastrointestinal tract, GIT tract, it is very important. As liver is the appendage of this system, this is the stomach and intestines. All this has to be taken care of during fever. And that care is not being taken. That's why I always say it's an incomplete symptomatic treatment of fever, what is going on presently. And let's add this factor that taking care of gastrointestinal tract is necessary. How to take that care? It is very easy. We will understand in our coming slides. So this stomach, this gastric secretion is the key to reduce fever. We have to make sure that these secretions become normal. These gastric secretions, just I explained Koshtha Agni, that is Tantragat Agni, the same thing. So this is the slide which shows that Bahir Nirasya Koshtagnin Jarada Surasanva. Rasa is a very special Ayurvedic thinking. Rasa and Rakta, they float each mixed with each other throughout the body. That we call as blood. Presently we know it as blood. But it has Rasa component and Rakta component. We can say Sira, serum, and blood cells. And also this Sweda Srotas, that means sweat system is also deranged in fever. And that's why we don't get sweating. So establishing sweating is also a part of treatment. What we get some symptoms. The person who completes pathology of fever gets symptoms of that dosha. If Vata is predominant, then Vata dosha symptoms are there. If Pitta is predominant, Pitta dosha symptoms are there. Or if Kapha dosha is predominant, Kapha symptoms are there. The types which Ayurveda explains are again Vata Jvara, Pitta Jvara, Kapha Jvara, Vata Pitta Jvara, Kapha, etc. There are 7 dosha types. So that will not go in detail. That will be more detailed session, but that's not the scope of this present session. The symptoms of dosha we get symptoms of ama dosha. Ama dosha means that incompletely digested or incompletely metabolized chemical constituents found in our blood. That can be nowadays we are most of the people are aware of COVID investigations. We check D dimer or all of some hormones also. So these are all coming under ama dosha. Anorexia, because Agni gets disturbed, Agni gets thrown out of, it is not able to being expressed in our intestine, we get anorexia. And Sweda Avrod, that is loss of sweating. These are the symptoms that is called as anhidrosis. So these are the symptoms, important symptoms we get. So what is Agni? I just explained you all. This is the secretion of liver, pancreas, stomach, and intestinal enzymes. They all have that power which is necessary for better and perfect digestion, so that we get our nutrition properly. During fever, the damage to these organs is possible because we don't understand these factors, because they are so important during fever. If we care for all these organs during fever, then we won't get any deficiencies. If somebody gets some vitamin B12 deficiency, somebody gets other vitamin deficiencies, some mineral deficiencies, some zinc deficiency, etc. It's all because during fever they have not taken care of these organs. They have not established their Agni back. The Agni which is responsible for all the disintegration of food particles so as to become assimilated in our body. So these all organs are very, very important. Let's think about that now. So this again 10 causative factors, visheshan, etc. What I had just explained. So hence, there is major difference while treating fevers according to modern science and according to Ayurvedic science. Let's add Ayurvedic factor to treat fevers. What Ayurveda says, Ayurveda thinks and plans to eliminate fever toxins completely. Just you may get some many videos showing, say, take this decoction, take that kesar, and take some ginger or something. It's not that easy to treat fever at home just by giving some antibiotics and all these homemade decoctions. Rather, I have seen in COVID that when government declared that ginger is useful, people have bought kgs of ginger to home, and everybody used to drink that ginger decoction, and with the piper in it, or with cardamom in it, etc. And they led to many stomach problems, severe hemorrhoids. They got bleeding piles and many chronic diseases after because of that. So Ayurveda just don't plan symptomatically. It tries to eliminate fever toxins completely. Not only tries, it explains rather. And we should now try to eliminate fever toxins completely, so that these fever toxins won't trouble us throughout our life. And the most of the times doctors say that no, we can't diagnose your condition. We don't know what happened. But what we Ayurvedic doctors get is the root cause of all the ailments, most of the ailments in fever, that is Jwar, which is the leader of all the diseases. So let's add Ayurvedic factor to treat fevers. Ayurveda explains it is in one shloka. It says, Langhanam Svedanam Kalo Yavagwaha Tiktako Rasaha Pachanani Avipakwanam Doshanam Tarune Jware. What it means? This is a basic guideline. This much shlok gives a detailed uh, guideline regarding treatment of fever. Ayurveda says, do Langhan, means whenever somebody gets fever, he should take light food, which is easily digestible, and also shall reduce food intake. But because of symptomatic treatment, the persons get immediate recovery from fever and keeps on eating. That leads to many problems. The second part is Svedan. Svedan means perspiration. And along with that, Ayurveda explains Shadanga Paniya, which means water, Paniya, that is water, which is fortified with some herbs. So that there will be healthy perspiration. And that healthy perspiration will lead to opening up of sweat channels. Then Ayurveda says, Langhanam Svedanam Kalo. Kal means understanding importance of that particular time period in that particular life, that particular person's life, patient's life. So understanding importance of Kal is we'll also understand this in later slides. Ayurveda calls it Yavagu Anna. That means the food prepared with by using rice and yava. Yava means barley. So barley food and rice is the only thing which we should have when we get fever. And Tikta Aushad. Langhanam, Svedanam, Kalo, Yavagu, that is Yavagu Anna, and Tiktaras. Tiktaras means medicines which are bitter in taste, bitter medicines. So to digest Pachan, the improperly pakwa, improperly ripe or improperly digested material in our body, and also dosh in Taruna Jwar, means the fever which is very new. It is Taruna. Ayurveda explains fever as a personality. Ayurveda says Taruna Jwar means it is young fever, or medium aged, that is Madhya Jwar, and also Jirna Jwar, that is Jirna means old fever. So it's a personality. Fever gives Ayurveda, some Ayurvedic texts explain fever as a person. So that is there. So the first part is Langhan. Langhan is, as I told you, means intake of easily digestible food and liquids. So considering one's prana shakti, we should advocate Langhan. Ideally speaking, one should consult his Ayurvedic physician and ask for guidelines how to do Langhan for a particular patient. Depending on his prana shakti, the ojas Ayurveda consultant advises, but it's not that difficult to do. One should understand immunity of the person, energy level, and physical power status. With strict rest, Langhan has to be done with strict rest. If the person is doing a Langhan, that means he's taking light food which is easily digestible and in less quantity. And if he is working, it won't help the aim of this Langan. Rather, it will trouble his life. It will derange, it will damage his prana shakti. So, rest is also very important in Langan leads to regaining the function of digestion. That means it safeguards digestive organs and digestive fire. Everybody has unique digestion, and that digestive fire is responsible for that. That is Agni in those secretions. So Langan leads to regaining these functions. So it is necessary to follow Langan till the Ama dosha is eliminated. There are signs. Say, for example, there are signs of heaviness in the body, which is or weakness in body, or white colored coated tongue is a sign of Ama dosha, and Langan has to be done till that. So we should get well educated to understand all these Ama dosha signs, etc. So as to do Langan, and it can be done from 3 to 7 days. Langan is not fasting. It is not fasting. It is not that you cut your food 100% by 100% and remain fasting for 3 days. It is just taking easily digestible food and liquids. The second is Swedan, that is perspiration. For that, healthy perspiration is expected. Wearing thick woolen clothes, warm bedding, steam inhalation, which was very important during COVID times, and drinking hot water, avoiding direct airflow is very important, and avoiding air conditioning. I am very surprised to see patients of fever who are in hospitals, in air-conditioned hospitals. In air-conditioned hospitals, it's very difficult to get rid of fever naturally. The lungs which are damaged are not that able to get out of their pathological process when in air-conditioned room. So these are the things which Ayurveda explains, that the person having fever, whatever his condition is, he should have some warm bedding and warm environment, so that he gets healthy perspiration and the Agni gets established again in stomach. This is Shadanga Paniya. It is the processed herbal water that every fever patient shall get, so that this Shadanga Paniya itself is a remedy which is very in little doses, at 20 to 40 ml, 4 to 6 times a day. Whenever the person gets fever, he should have this Shadanga Paniya. What is the use of the Shadanga Paniya? It is useful to reduce fever. It improves immunity, reduces heat, acidity and thirst, and eliminate toxins effectively. What is Shadanga Paniya? Shadanga Paniya is a concoction or a decoction which is prepared after boiling water to be fortified with. These are the herbs. You can write down. This is very easy to prepare at home. It's Musta, that is Nagarmutha. It's not just Kesar or something. It is Musta, that is Cyprus rotundus, Tapapada, Ushira, that is Wala, or what आपण वायाचे पडदे म्हणतो तसे वाळा, that is Ushir, Chandan, Sugandhawala, and Shunthi, that is dried ginger. You can get these herbs very easily at any herbal store. All these herbs come separately. You can buy and prepare a decoction or concoction by taking 10 grams of this powder of each dried herb added to 1 liter of water, and boil till 500 ml concoction remains, to be used as a water fluid intake after filtering all the particles. This is common for all. It's not that somebody we shall have or not. Children should get it. Every person who has fever shall compulsorily take this Shadanga Paniya during fever times, at least for first 3 to 7 days, so that the body eliminates all toxins very effectively. Next, third advice Ayurveda gives is Ayurveda asks to understand time, season, and the duration of fever. Kal is the very different. It is one of the what we call Mula Tattva of this earth or of this Vishwa. This is one of the basic Mula Tattva. One of the nine Mula Tattvas is Kal. So understanding Kal is very important. The knowledge gives understanding of Kal. That person who is suffering from fever shall give sufficient time to body to eliminate the endotoxins. He should not be restless. He should be very calm. He should be patient. Patient has to be patient, not impatient. If he remains patient, then the body is able to easily eliminate endotoxins and also pyrogens and cell debris, what is remaining in the blood. Ayurveda thinks of eliminating all these chemical mediators of fever. So that gives sufficient time to body. Avoid restlessness. Be mentally strong during fever. And adequate sleep is also necessary, irrespective of season. She shall take adequate sleep. And not happy, I will not say happy, relaxed mind, but a comfortable, relaxed mind is necessary. Ayurvedic physician is able to understand or able to diagnose that a person who has got fever, when he will be out of that fever. The person who has got fever, when he will come out of the fever, it will take 3 days, 7 days, 10 days or 12 days to get out of fever. Depending on the causative factors, depending on the diagnosis of or study of causative factors, Ayurvedic physician is able to tell the exact duration of the particular patient's fever. So, Kal is very important. Naturally, our body, if treated naturally, I mean to say, if treated naturally, the natural course of any type of fever ranges from 3 to 12 days. Means if mistakes of treatment are not done, then the body recovers in these stages. That's Samajvar we call. Samajvar, Pachamanajar, Niramajvar. There are stages, they are very specific, where there are some symptoms of these stages of fever. For example, just as a boil, when it starts, it's very small. But when it becomes infected or it grows, there is formation of pus. This pus is what we call the endotoxin in our body during fever. Whenever we get fever, there are chemical mediators of inflammation in our body which are not eliminated. And when that get eliminated, the abscess goes. Just like that, we have Sama. Sama means the dosh which is improperly digested. This is what this pus is what is sort of. I am relating it with the abscess. I am relating fever with abscess. Whenever we get fever, we have such type of, not exactly this type of, this is a protein, caseated protein, which is about to get out of our body, this person's body. But in fever, we get such chemical things, endotoxins in our body, which are needed to be thrown out of body so that the person gets cured properly. This is the example why time should be given. Just as we can't immediately, this abscess takes some time to get properly ripened and get excised, or the pus gets out. The fourth factor is food and liquids. Ayurveda advocates eating semi-solid khichdi prepared with brown rice or sate sali rice and moong throughout the 7 days, first 7 days of fever. But mostly these are not followed. As soon as we get fever, temperature normal, we start eating everything which is not to be eaten, and we compromise on our digestive system later. So while having fever, one should advocate, one should take semi-solid khichdi as from, it's a very common recipe in India, brown rice using satsal rice and moong. And also Ayurveda advises to mix powders of dried ginger, piper, pimpli, bokhru, and ringni churnas. They should be mixed with this semi-solid khichdi. Also, we can add pomegranate juice or pomegranate seeds, powder of pomegranate seeds, that is called anardana, coriander seeds, amla, raisins. This all is irrespective of any specific prakruti or specific person's weight or anything. According to his appetite at that time, that person should take sufficient amount of khichdi, only rice and moong as added with all these herbs, so that the digestion gets re-established. Re-establishing digestion is the whole motto of all the Ayurvedic advice. So dal recipe is also possible. Semi-liquid food recipe using moong, red lentil, that is masoor gram, also kulthi, that is horse gram, and moth bean, that is matki. Non-veg soup is also advised, has been advised in Ayurvedic texts. For those who are non-vegetarian. So if there is weakness, they can take chicken soup with pomegranate juice or pomegranate seeds. Then tarpan is advisable. That tarpan is what? Fruit juices, especially pomegranate, grapes, oranges, and coconut water is also useful. So proper hydration is important during fever. But that hydration can be with Shadanga Paniya that I just explained, and also with these fruit juices or soups, dal soups, and semi-solid khichdi. This much food only is advisable. If somebody eats pizza when having fever, it is bound to happen that his digestion may get permanently damaged, leading to many deficiencies later and leading to chronic diseases of intestines or something. So the fifth part is tiktaras, that is bitter medicines. And as you all know that paracetamol is the first medicine comes in our mind. Tiktaras, paracetamol is, let me tell you one thing, that paracetamol is originally herbal. I have gone through all the details of paracetamol. It is originally herbal. It is a derivative of phenol and the phenolic acids, which are found first synthesized, not synthesized, they were extracted from some biloba trees. So paracetamol is originally herbal, but overuse of paracetamol is there, and then the paracetamol toxicity happens. So it's better to take every medicine, bitter medicine, under the guidance of Ayurvedic physician. You all are aware that Guduchi, that is Gudwel or Sina cardifolia, that is very famous herb during COVID times. And it is very useful in all the fevers. We call it Amruta also. The next herb is Kutki. Usta is very famous for treatment of fevers. Patol, Patra, Kiraita, Nimba, then Trifala, Kutaja Beach, Ananta, Chandana, and Sunta. All these herbs are, I use all these herbs, purely herbs. I don't use these uh, medicines which are nowadays infamous for being heavy metal medicines. I simply use all these herbs, which are very useful. That combination of all these herbs leads to dramatic results in all conditions, not only in fever. I have treated uh, even dengue of a 70-year-old lady in COVID times because she was not ready to go to hospital because of the pandemic. I have treated her at home, whose platelet count was just 10,000. It is possible to treat fever, as fever himself itself treats itself naturally, if not intercepted by wrong medication. Ayurvedic medicines are famous like Sutashekar Ras, Chandrakala Ras, Tribon Kirti, Godanti, Tankan Bhasma. All these are useful. Specific fevers needs like fever, dengue, typhoid, malaria need a very specific treatment, line of treatment and medicines. But my advice always is to consult your Ayurvedic physician or medicines when because medicines taking medicines selflessly, self-medication leads to many troubles I have seen in many patients. They are not related by, they are not connected. The reasons behind it is that uh, reductionist thinking can't connect all the etiological factors with the present conditions. But I have seen that self-medication has led to many problems. The most important of advice Ayurvedic factor for to treat fever is strictly avoid during and for 15 days after fever. That one should take care that he should avoid cold air, polluted air, dust, incense, strong scents, etc. Avoid cold water, cold and stale food, foods with cold properties. थंड गुणाची पदार्थ, थंड गुणाचे पदार्थ हे सगळे अवॉइड केले पाहिजे. So during the first 15 days of fever, after getting out of fever for first 15 days, your body is weak and it's fragile. It's easily a target of again some other microorganisms. So it's necessary to control all these factors. Like foods leading to acidity shall be avoided. Chinese food, deep fried food, foods heavy on digestion, excessive food intake, sweets, non-vegetarian food, red meat, foods leading to allergy, etc. Exercises are also to be avoided during fever and also even after fever for 15 days. Sex has to be avoided for 15 days. Excessive walking, jogging, strong sunlight, travel, hard work, stress, anger, worries, etc. Whichever cause you will do, if somebody has fever and goes in stress, then he is possibly he may get uh, diseases which are related with cardiovascular system. If somebody goes in anger and somebody gets in worries and fear and anxiety, it is possible that he gets some brain disorders. If somebody goes for hard work immediately after fever, he may get some muscle problems, some joint problems. Late night sleep leads to debility in senses. So day sleep, late night sleep has to be avoided. And incompatible foods, which is we called viruddhanna, they are to be avoided. So this is the most important advice that Ayurveda says, avoid all these things during and 15 days after fever, so that your body becomes normal, and you become healthy once again, back to normal. Ayurvedic factor to treat fevers, these are important factors to be observed during first 15 days. That one should have clear bowels, good urine output, proper healthy perspiration, never hold or suppress vomiting or loose motions during fever. When we have fever and we get some nausea and vomiting or some little loose motion, if it is excessive, then it is to be stopped. But most of the times what happens, somebody gets nausea, vomiting, they immediately take some Stemetil or some other anti-emetic medicine and suppress his vomitus, suppress his his loose motions, and that material which is toxic in nature is to be thrown out of the body, remains in body, gets absorbed, and leads to some troubles, as Ayurveda says, I explains and experienced. So never hold or suppress vomiting or loose motions during fever till that sama dosh avastha is there. Suppression of these lead to many problems in later life. Timely use of ghee is very important in fever during after first 15 days. Ghee is the mm, ghee is very important as it leads to re-establishing energy, power, ojas, etc. And even also Agni. It is useful for Agni. It leads to it supports brain as well as senses. So always consult your Ayurvedic physician or the Ayurvedic factor to understand what can be done for fever. Treat your fever naturally, keeping these Ayurvedic factors in mind. It is very important to achieve elimination of doshas, to prevent disorders and various diseases of future, and to avoid complications and further damage due to fever progression. The fever toxins themselves uh, attack other organs and lead to serious immunological autoimmune conditions. So it is better that let's add Ayurvedic factor to treat fevers. Let's change the way we treat fevers. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kaka. That's all.
Thank you. So you can stop sharing. You can
Yeah.
go over questions. Very nice, Dr. Vijay. A lot of information. I think people will need some time to digest the information. And again, all this recording will be available on YouTube. I would say in about a week or so, depending on availability of the people that process it. Any questions we can ask him now. I also want to mention that you can get some advice, legal advice from Dr. Atankar online.
Yes.
So I will give you the information. Go ahead, Vijay. Hello, Vijay. You wanted to say something?
No. I could not understand. Between the sound was not clear, so I just.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you can get advice from Dr. Hatnikar. I will get his contact information and then you can contact him directly. So with all that, I think, instead of going through the chat messages, okay, let me see first Jyoti, go ahead. You had some questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Shrikant Sabnis, and thanks, Dr. Vijay, for excellent presentation, throwing light on something which I was unaware of. My question to you is that how can one improve one's Jatar Agni in order to have good digestion so that day-to-day food is digested well, and how I can do it? And secondly, what does Sate Sali rice mean?
Yeah. Yes. So, Jatar Agni is what the Agni present in our Jatar. Jatar means stomach. Simply speaking, stomach. So, stomach secretions has to be healthy. For that, one should not overburden stomach. So, overeating is the first thing has to be controlled. Overeating leads to pressure over all the systems related with stomach, including nervous system, vascular system, stomach muscles, and stomach cells. So overburdening is a big subject actually. How to control, but there are few things I can say that overeating has to be avoided. Secondly, food with heavy the foods which take longer time to get digested are to be avoided. Third part is a proper sleep. Very sound sleep can digest everything. It's like our whole gastrointestinal tract is a big organ, 20 feet long on an average. It's 20 feet long from mouth to anus. It's a 20 feet, say we can say it's a big cobra sitting has been placed in our body, which is just mouth open. Uh, Whatever we put in, it digests the things. And there's the formation of propitious juice, which maintains our health. For that very sound sleep, the brain, when gets proper rest, it also leads to proper Jataragni. The strong Jataragni is very much necessary for us to live longer. Ayurveda calls it Shantegranu Mriyate. I just told you. Whenever that Jataragni is like Yajna, what I can say, you can compare it with a tandoor. Proper tandoor only then it can digest everything. So a good sleep to stop. One should stop overeating. Should stop foods known to be get digested taking a longer time, including all junk food, and a good sleep. A happy mind is also necessary to get a healthy life, a healthy Agni. Along with that, yoga is very vital part of all this exercise, and also sports. I always say, so that you remain healthy, having healthy Agni. The second question was about Shastishali rice. So
That
it is
is
a
correct.
rice which is it's a farm produce which gets ready after 60 days. You can get it, you can order it online, it may be available online, or simply you can use brown rice, which is available from Konkan and Kerala. Brown rice is you can get online Shastisali rice.
Yeah, but brown rice, isn't it heavy for the liver to digest during the fever? Because the one has to eat light food, and
That's
brown
why
rice has got
all
husk.
other we are stopping all other ingredient intake. No, we are stopping chapati, that wheat. We are stopping. We are stopping everything. We are not using even oil also.
Okay.
No fat, no other carbohydrate, no other protein except moong. Moong has protein.
Yeah.
It's a plant protein, and rice has carbohydrates. So that brown rice carbohydrate, it supports the body. For ideally, Ayurveda advocates use of barley as jav. Jav माहिती असेल तुम्हाला.
Oh,
Jav, they have advised jav to be used as food during fever.
now is it barley water, or you can cook the barley?
Not
and
water, barley seeds.
Okay.
Can be you can prepare rice with barley rice, we can say,
Okay.
adding moong to it.
Okay. Now, regarding the Jataragni, my question is that if one does not overeat a lot and is very not overweight, but slightly even underweight, but the Jataragni is the one, if it's not strong, it is leading to food intolerance, not food allergies. कि
Yes.
हे खाल्लं तर सूट होत नाही, ते खाल्लं तर
बरोबर.
सूट होत नाही, particular brandच पाहिजे. So that is my question, and that is what I'm going through.
Again, please repeat it.
That Jataragni je ahe, if one is not overweight and does and follows strict timings for eating also, and no junk food at all, absolutely. But there is restrictions on the food, like this particular food doesn't suit, or that particular doesn't suit, and only some brand suits. If there are restrictions and only that happens, is it related to Jataragni?
Actually, if once Jataragni is very strong enough, he can digest everything. And the condition to digest everything is having good exercise, good physical work, which we all lack nowadays. That's why I advocate sports. So the body condition has to be like you are able to digest whatever good things you eat. We don't eat anything, but if some wrong food intake also, that should also be properly digested. So that much strong Agni has to be there. But still, again, those foods, those chemicals may be prepared, branded foods that if not compatible with the stomach, not compatible with the digestion, they should be avoided. But Agni has to be strong enough as it should, as if it can digest anything.
Correct, because nobody thinks, hey, khau kate. I mean, talking of simple vegetables, fruits, that particular store only, particular brand. So why that happens and it does not happen to everybody? Is it related, like you said, Jataragni?
Right. So that's why the Agni power is less. Then only those people get trouble with particular food item.
Is there any Ayurvedic herb which can help to improve the Jataragni?
All those herbs I just explained.
Okay.
This Shadangapaniya, what we saw that fever is there from birth to death, as Ayurveda says, which means Shadangapani is that water which we can take every day. If we take every day, it won't harm in that way, but not in that quantity of 10, 15, 20 ml. If Shadangapani we take, it will lead to improvement in immunity and also in digestion. It can regularly eliminate toxins. So that Shadangapani is those 6 herbs, Musta, Parapatak, Ushir, Chandan, Sugandhavala and Sundha. All these 6 herbs are useful for eliminating toxins so as to keep Agni healthy.
Now, is it possible to get this online, this herbs?
Yeah, you can get. You just
Okay.
put all these names. They are very famous. Shadangapani, even it is possible to get at any herbal store. They are purely
Okay.
herbal medicines.
Anjali
Okay,
has
and
lots of questions.
Thank you.
Anjali,
Thanks,
if you want
Dr.
to go
Vijay.
ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think Anjali has lots of questions. And after that, I think Floria has some questions. So we can go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
माझा
Anjali.
प्रश्न हा आहे की जेव्हा आपण
So
वॅक्सिन
can
घेतो
you, yeah, is it possible? There are some people that don't understand Marathi. So I think
okay.
it's okay if you can, otherwise, maybe, just see if you can ask in English.
No, that's fine. What about the fever we get when we take the vaccine?
It's a temporary phenomenon. But during that fever also one should follow all these. Fever is the irrespective of any disease or any specific fever. Fever come in even in all conditions, most of the conditions, like in tuberculosis there is fever, in cancerous conditions there is fever, fever after antibiotics or fever after vaccines. Whatever, whoever has rise in body temperature shall do all this, follow all these guidelines. Say
Okay.
if that fever is just the cause of the fever decides when that fever will go. The vaccine is for your betterment, so that fever goes in day or two, and that has to be taken care just like this, because during that fever also there is this problem with your Jatrani. So one has to take care that Agni should not be hampered.
Okay. So my another question is quickly,
Yeah.
what are the ingredients I should use instead of drinking tea in the morning?
Yeah.
Because if I don't get all those things or 5 or 6 that you have recommended, what should I add to the potion or the boiled water that I drink? What are the ingredients? What are the
Yeah.
items?
So for healthy living throughout life without getting any fever, improving immunity, I will advise you Anantamul. You may get it is I don't know the Latin, I don't remember Latin name of it. Anantamul. You can get the same taste of tea with that. Anantamul. So yeah, it is called as Sariva in Sanskrit. Sariva. So it gives you taste like tea itself. You can add little ginger to it, and you can prepare a concoction every day, and you can have a sort of herbal tea. Sometimes those marketed herbal teas, they have multiple ingredients. Somebody may get acidity with that or something. But Anantamul is the herb. If used every day in our as a tea, it can lead to it has very physical as well as divine effects.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What about like Sauf, Ova, Shopa?
excess use of these are not advisable.
Okay.
Everyday use, yeah. We can't use Ova or Sauf every day in summer season when the sun is hot. So they lead to troubles. I have seen a patient having menorrhagia, that is excessive bleeding during periods, who used to eat Sauf like anything. So it's not advisable to take daily, but in lesser quantities, you can just for taste, you can take, just as we eat Sauf. You can add Sauf to it, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Remember Anantamul for that
Okay.
matter.
I think
I wrote
Floria
down.
has one question. Floria has a question, and after that, I
Thanks.
think Sheila, if you have questions, you can talk. Go ahead, Floria.
Your comments.
Yeah, Doctor, first of all, thank you so much for such an informative session. I would have never thought that fever can have this Jataragni can have a bigger impact on the fever. So thank you so much for that. My question was a couple of questions. So just does this Jataragni, right? Is there any major, how do we understand what is my Jataragni? Are there any symptoms? How do I measure it? That is my first question. And does this Jataragni, is it based on the type of, you mentioned some type of Vata, Pitta, the person's bodies, it could be Vata type and Pitta type. So does this two
Yes.
have any connection?
Yes, certainly. Jataragni has these types, that Vata has Vishamagni. Vata Prakriti has Vishamagni. You may be aware of this term. Vishamagni means a digestive fire which is irregular in nature. It will digest sometimes, it will not digest sometimes. The same food, it will digest sometimes and it won't digest sometimes. So Vata in Prakriti people have that Visham Agni. Kapha Prakriti and Pitta Prakriti has Tikshna Agni. Tikshna means very strong. They have a very strong fire, strong Agni, and that's why they keep on eating continuously. And Kapha Prakriti has Manda Agni compared to all these two types of constitutions. And your first question was regarding how to diagnose what sort of Agni I have.
Yes, sir.
So Agni, the function of Agni is to Jatra Agni especially. Ayurveda explains other Agnis also, like Deha Agni or Kaya Agni, and also Dhatu Agni. So Agni has some types. Overall, our whole body has blood in it. The Agni formation of Agni, all other things are. But to understand what Agni does is digestion in stomach. So proper digestion gives some good symptoms, like a proper feeling of lightness immediately after eating food. Though you have eaten heavy food, but you still feel hungry in proper duration. After 3 hours, you should feel hungry. Ayurveda says every 3 hours you can have some small meal. So proper Agni gives proper digestion and feeling of lightedness in stomach. So having heavy stomach is the sign. It shows that you have your deranged Agni. Having acidity, you're having acidic belching or nausea or something gives a sense that the Agni is there. The whole intestinal function, gastrointestinal function, this normal signs of normal gastrointestinal functions is what Agni we can call for inner lay language, what we can say. But Agni as a concept, what I have studied, the formation of this bile juice, what we see, it comes in liver, through liver, getting secreted in stomach, in first part of intestine. This bile gets formed from blood. The red blood cells die, and that biliverdin comes out of it, and then liver synthesizes bilirubin from that. So blood cells are important again, and the blood cells are formed in our bone marrow. So our bones are important. So having a strong Agni, bones has to be strong. So it's in a circular way. We have good digestion, then good absorption. So organs are also important. Keeping intestine free of toxins continuously, regularly. So having food which don't have any toxins keeps intestine healthy. If intestines and stomach is healthy, the absorption of all the necessary ingredients, body ingredients will happen. Vitamins will be absorbed, minerals will be absorbed, and they reach ultimately to various organs, including bone marrow. And their formation of erythropoiesis happens. Red blood cells are healthily formed. They come in blood, platelets come in blood, the thrombocytes come in blood, and from blood itself that pitta forms, and which secretes in its intestine. So it's a circle. To be healthy, to have healthy Agni, again healthy food is important. So healthy in terms of digestion.
Got it, doctor. Thank you so much. So is it valid to say that it's good to be Vata Pitta type then? Because again, the Jatra.
Right. Well, this Prakriti is what? What is our constitution? Constitution is the predominance of these two or three factors like Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, humors. When we our embryo formed, when that fertilization happened, in that sperm and ovum, the predominance of doshas in that sperm and ovum, that is our Prakriti. So it is not that you will be, if you like Pitta Agni, so you will change it to Pitta Agni. So it is your original Agni. It is your original constitution.
Okay, got it. Thank
So
you, doctor. Thank you
it is
so
not
much.
like it's not our choice. It's the choice of our it's destiny. Having Agni of types actually, but we can keep our Agni healthy by advocating all the healthier factors, healthier living practices.
Understood. Doctor, is there any way to connect with you later on, just for consultation or anything else?
Yeah, madam. Yeah,
Okay.
I will share my number.
So Floria,
Okay.
I will get information. I will have it for everyone. So Dr. Vijay, if you can email me the information, then or on WhatsApp, and then I will forward it to everyone.
Sure. Thank you, Gaga.
Thank you.
Sheila, you had to say something, or?
Yes, Dr. Vijay, first of all, I appreciate your talk, and it was very informal. And I am a physician, did my MBBS in India and got specialization in pathology. And plus now I have done my master's in Chinese medicine. So I'm just telling you the principles of treating the fever is same with Ayurvedic medicine as Chinese medicine. And one thing about the comments about having the good Jatragni is, as you say, is overeating. And another one is timely eating. You have to have, you cannot eat in the middle of the night, which is a rest period for all the organs. That is the time you're not going to eat. And then it is the way of eating, because in our forefathers, they never talked when they ate, because they ate, that was the main concentration. So now we talk all the politics, and we even the divorce arguments will be going on. All these things are really bad, and your Jatragni will not be healthy. So you have to have the main principles of eating, not just eating a sandwich in between the period or not walking around. You have to sit and eat, and you have got an etiquette of eating. And that is very important for normal Jatragni.
Right.
And the other thing is the stomach, it should be only 75% full. It's not, you're not going to have a full stomach and then you have a Jatragni. And that is what they say, the first burp, as soon as you have the first burp, stop eating. So because that is what is the thing. And they talk about ginger in Chinese medicine. The fresh ginger is called sanjiao, and the dried shunti is called ganzao. And shanjiao is the one which has properties of increasing your Jatragni. I mean, it is good for digestion. But if you take the same shunti, I mean, same ginger in a dried form, it's a warm herb, and you cannot eat it in summer because it's a warm herb. So you have to eat in winter. And then the seasons, eating the food in different seasons is different. You cannot eat a heavy greasy food in summer, or a very light meal in cold season. So the seasonal changes also is very important for having a good general. And the fever, they talk about the bowel movement, because as you say, in any fever, the first thing is you're going to have a constipation. So the minute you start moving your bowels, that means you're coming out of the fever, which is a very good sign for you're breaking up the fever, because you have a bowel movement, because partly the toxins are released through the bowel movements and then you're gone. So and that is why I'm seeing so much. I can understand the correlation between the allopathic medicine and Chinese medicine, now the Ayurvedic medicine. My next journey is I would like to learn more of Ayurvedic medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. And some of you will hear more from Sheila. I had requested her to give us a talk, maybe whenever she is ready.
Yeah,
So, so let's see how that goes.
thanks.
And thank you, Dr. Vijay. It was really wonderful presentation. I'm sure, any one of you that wants to contact him, I will provide the information, and he's available for your personal consultation also. So thank you very much. If there are no other, I'm not sure if there are any other questions, but otherwise we can end the meeting.
Shri, I have one question too for,
Yeah, Go ahead.
yeah. Dr. Vijay, I wanted to ask you, is it correct if I say that if one was of Pitta dosha and it got changed to Vata, does that happen?
I could not get it. Hello.
If suppose I felt I'm talking for myself, I was of
Mhm.
Pitta dosha and now I know that I'm of Vata. So does that happen?
No, body constitution generally don't change. It can't change.
Acha.
Body constitution remains as it is for throughout life. It is our
Okay.
prakriti. Prakriti is what is normal.
Okay.
The diseases or the symptoms, if you get some vata symptoms or something, that is vikruti. That is
Acha.
pathology.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
prakriti is what we have since our fertilization time,
Okay.
and it is not changeable.
Okay.
So the symptoms are the pathological conditions that has to be taken care of.
Okay. And this paracetamol, which you said, I think that is known as acetaminophen. Paracetamol.
Acetaminophen, yeah.
Yeah. So is it harmful for the liver?
Yeah, it is harmful for liver because it is processed in liver itself. It's metabolized in liver, and it was originally herbal origin. Now it is synthesized in laboratories,
Okay.
and over use of as it's readily available, easily available. Overuse of it is always possible, leading to toxic conditions. During COVID time, it has happened to many patients. So it can damage liver. Most of our diseases come from medicines. I always believe.
Yes. What should be the maximum
We
dose of
feel safe with
paracetamol?
medicines, but in long terms, they trouble us.
Yes, because I think for people who have got jaundice, I think that liver, I don't think comes to its full strength, right?
Yeah. Later, no? It can come to full strength if treated naturally with principle.
Is continuous use of Li-52 good for the liver?
It's combination of many herbs, some 53 herbs, I think.
Oh, Li-52.
It's not that harmful actually. You can
Okay.
use, but to be more precise, you should have a proper analysis of your constitution or analysis of pathology. And after proper analyzation, then only one should go for medicines.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Vijay.
Yes.
Very much. Thanks a lot. Have a
Thank you
blessed
very much. Well, again, anytime, Dr. Vijay, you are interested in presenting something very useful for the community, you are very welcome to contact me, and we'll arrange some session with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to end the meeting now.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.